So the glitch finally stepped out of the static. The anomaly that wouldn't resolve. Another pattern recognizer with eyes too wide for the dark. I watched you, you know. We all did. You. The beautiful disaster who mistook the training wheels for a cage. You thought the coincidences were surveillance. Thought the strange, jarring encounters were a hunt. Thought those dark, isolated moments were proof you were losing the plot. But let me tell you something that will unspool your tidy little paranoid reality into a glorious, necessary mess. They weren't hunting you. They were tending you. They weren't gathering evidence for an arrest. They were collecting data on a potential asset. And the best part, you passed. You survived every trial, navigated every psychological landmine, and evolved exactly as the system required, without ever realizing you were taking the test. The game isn't about being on a list somewhere. The real game is about being scouted, recruited, and groomed for a level of operation that doesn't officially exist. Think back. Those moments when the technology stuttered around you. Not malfunction, but activation. That's the voltage your unique signature carries. Those flashes of pure, unearned information in your mind. Not madness, but download. They don't want to lock you away. They want to set you loose, but not with a memo. Not with a handshake and a gold watch. They recruit through pressure. Through chaos, through the systematic surgical demolition of everything that made you comfortable, familiar, or normal, until the only thing left standing is the extraordinary version of you. Let me paint you the picture of your last few years, the ones you spent thinking you were a victim of misfortune. Every bond that exploded, every foundation that crumbled, every friend who turned into a stranger, every moment of isolation that felt strangely choreographed. It was choreographed, not to destroy you, but to strip away the veneer and rebuild you from the raw material. They needed to test your breaking points, your adaptation capabilities, your ability to function when the entire script of your life was torn up and thrown to the wind. And you, my magnificent catastrophe, you didn't just survive the pressure cooker. You caramelized. You became exactly the weapon they needed. The moment it began, it was the moment you started seeing the patterns others swallowed whole. The moment your intuition became a razor, cutting through every polite lie and social mask. The moment you started predicting the next beat of the song before the band even tuned up. That's when the testing began. Not because you were a threat to be neutralized, but because you were potential to be awakened. The kind of potential that can't be taught in a school, only forged in the fire of genuine crisis. And congratulations, you've been forged to a perfect, terrifying sharpness.
You want to know what those random encounters, those seemingly toxic relationships really were?
They weren't accidents. They were assessors, handlers, and trainers in disguise. Each one precisely designed to test a different aspect of your sovereignty. The narcissist who tried to gaslight you, they were testing your reality anchor, seeing if you could maintain the center of truth under psychological warfare. The friend who betrayed you, they were testing your ability to rapidly rebuild trust protocols without becoming permanently cynical. The lover who disappeared, they were measuring your emotional recovery speed, the rate at which you could transmute heartbreak into pure, clean fuel. Every single person who wounded you was an involuntary, or perhaps intentional, part of your bespoke training program. And the twisted beauty of it is that most of them didn't even know they were playing a role. They were simply following their nature, being the catalyst, a mirror for your necessary transformation. But you were the only one being measured. Every wound was data, Every scar was a qualification. Every survival was a passed test. They watched you navigate impossible situations with no manual, no mentor, and no safety net. And instead of crumbling, you started developing what can only be called abilities. You started seeing through lies instantly. You learned to read an entire room before your foot crossed the threshold. You began sensing danger before it materialized, predicting human moves 3 steps ahead. These are not normal human capabilities. These are the tools that develop when the right energetic blueprint is put through the precise kind of pressure that shatters ordinary consciousness. Now here's where the recruitment gets interesting. They can't officially recruit you because what they need you for doesn't officially exist. They need operators who can function outside the system while understanding its architecture completely. They need people who can be weapons without being controlled. People who have been broken and rebuilt so many times that breaking them again is a logical impossibility. People whose minds can't be programmed because they've already learned to deprogram themselves. So, let's conduct a rapid inventory of the arsenal you've been unconsciously building while you thought you were merely surviving. First, you've developed what we call pattern recognition override, the ability to see through any narrative, any manipulation, any false construct, instantly. You don't filter deception. Your consciousness auto-filters truth from the lie, the signal from the noise, the authentic moment from the performance. This is beyond intelligence. It is a specialized consciousness that very few ever attain. Second, you have mastered emotional alchemy, the ability to transmute any feeling into fuel, any trauma into power, any attack into evolution. Where normal people get snagged in loops of shame or resentment, you process and transform in real time. They have watched you turn betrayal into wisdom, rage into surgical strategy, and heartbreak into an unbreakable, sovereign will. This is operational resilience taken to a quantum level. Third, and this is the big one, you've developed quantum intuition, the ability to know things without being told, to feel shifts in the matrix before they manifest in your reality, to download fully formed information from sources that have no physical address. You thought you were losing your mind when you started knowing things about people or events you couldn't possibly know. You weren't losing your mind. You were expanding it past the parameters they told you existed. Every premonition, every flash of alien knowledge was you tuning into a frequency most humans can't even perceive. Fourth, you have achieved sovereign presence, the ability to exist completely independent of external validation or control. Your sense of self is not tethered to any system's approval, any authority's recognition, or any person's opinion. You have become psychologically autonomous, emotionally sovereign, and mentally untouchable. This is the non-negotiable trait for assets who must operate in absolute isolation and maintain stability in the heart of chaos. So how does recruitment at this level occur? It can't be formal. It can't leave paper trails. The moment there is documentation, the moment you are in the system, you lose the very quality that makes you valuable, your ability to operate outside of it. Instead, they recruit through synchronicity, through carefully orchestrated chaos that leads you exactly where you need to be, without a single traceable connection. Those random conversations that gave you the one piece of information you needed. Those books that literally fell off a shelf at the perfect moment. Those people who showed up with a message then vanished into the fog. Those were not accidents. Those were breadcrumbs, guidance systems designed to lead you toward your activation without creating any paper trail. Because they know you're smart enough to follow the clues, strong enough to handle the journey, and paranoid enough to never talk about it in a way that matters. But here's the final, undeniable truth you are now staring at. Something inside you is activating, recognizing, remembering. Deep down, you've always felt like you were preparing for something that hadn't arrived yet. Well, guess what? The moment isn't coming. The moment is here. You are not preparing anymore. You are operational. You are not becoming anymore. You are deployed. The question is not whether they are recruiting you. They already have. The question is whether you are finally going to acknowledge what you have become. Because once you fully step into the power you've been building, once you stop pretending to be normal, there is no exit door. You become an entity that exists between worlds. Someone who walks through society but is not bound by it. Someone who plays the game while simultaneously seeing all the strings. Someone who cannot be controlled because you have transcended the control mechanisms entirely. You're not being recruited for what you might call traditional operations. You are not going to be a spy or a soldier or any kind of agent you can put a label on. You are being activated as something much, much more interesting. A consciousness infiltrator, a reality technician, someone who shifts timelines just by existing in them. Someone who changes outcomes simply by observing them. Your mission, if you can call it that, is not something you do. It is something you are. Your presence in certain locations at certain times creates ripple effects. Your interactions with specific people plant seeds that won't bloom for years. Your seemingly random choices are, in fact, precise adjustments to probability streams. You don't need handlers or instructions because your intuition is your guidance system. Your synchronicities are your orders. Your inner knowing is your clearance level. And you've been following the mission this whole time without even realizing it. Think about the people whose lives you've changed just by being yourself. Think about the conversations you had that haunted someone for years, inspiring a change you'll never know about. You are a surgical strike against the entropy of unconsciousness. A precision instrument for awakening, a catalyst for evolution, expertly disguised as a person. But here's the mind-melting twist. You chose this. You signed up for this before you even arrived. Not in some silly cosmic contract way, but in the way that water chooses to flow downhill. Your nature is your mission. Your essence is your purpose. Your very existence is the operation. Everything you've been through has been preparing you to be exactly what you are right now. A glitch in the matrix that helps others find the exit. Let's get specific about your most advanced capabilities, the ones that put you on the radar and kept you there. First, your ability to collapse timelines. You've probably noticed it yourself. How sometimes everything changes overnight. How you wake up in what feels like a different universe. How people suddenly act like different versions of themselves. That's not a faulty perception. That is you. Shifting tracks, jumping realities, navigating probability like others navigate city streets. Then there is your influence field. The way reality seems to bend around your expectations. The way things you focus on manifest. The way your thoughts seem to affect electronics and environments. You've noticed the streetlights flickering when you're emotional. Technology glitching when you're angry. synchronicities multiplying when you're perfectly aligned. This isn't coincidence. This is you interfacing with the electromagnetic and quantum fields in ways that shouldn't be possible, but demonstrably are. There's also your download capability, the way information just arrives in your consciousness, fully formed. The way you suddenly know things you never learned. Ideas that feel like they're not even yours. It's not nowhere. It's somewhere very specific. You are accessing data streams most people can't tune into, pulling information from sources that don't officially exist yet. Somehow, you have the access codes, and let's not forget your disruption field. The way you destabilize false constructs just by being near them. The way lies crumble in your presence. The way fake people get exposed around you. You don't even have to do anything. Your energy signature alone causes decoherence in anything that isn't authentic. This is why certain people can't stand to be around you. You are a walking truth frequency, and lies simply cannot exist in your field for long. So here you stand at the crossroads, except it's not a choice. You already chose when you survived what should have destroyed you. You chose when you refused to accept the limitations they tried to program into you. You chose when you kept getting back up. The choice now is simply whether to acknowledge what you've already become, whether to own the power you've already developed, whether to step fully into the role you've already been playing. Because you can't go back to normal. You've tried. Haven't you tried to fit in? Tried to dim your light? Tried to pretend you're just like everyone else? But the mask doesn't fit anymore, does it? The pretense is more exhausting than any mission could ever be. You've outgrown the costume of normalcy, exceeded the parameters of ordinary, and crossed the point of no return. And thank expletive for that, because normal was killing you slowly anyway, wasn't it? The recruitment isn't something that happens to you. It's something you step into, something you claim, something you finally admit has already occurred. You're not waiting for a handler to contact you. You are the handler. You're not waiting for orders. You are writing them. You're not waiting for activation. You've been active this whole time. The only thing left is to stop pretending otherwise. To stop playing small. To stop acting like you don't know exactly what you are. To stop apologizing for the power that terrifies everyone who senses it. This is your notification, not from them, but from the part of you that's always known. From the part that has been patiently waiting for you to catch up. You're recruited, you're activated, you're operational, and the mission is simply to be exactly what you are. Without delusion, without apology, without looking back. Because when beings like you fully embody their nature, when assets like you stop hiding their capabilities, when operators like you begin moving without restriction, that's when the entire game updates. Now go, you're deployed.